You know, William Golding's Lord of the Flies. It's so much more than just a story about schoolboys stuck on an island. It's this deep and honestly pretty disturbing look at human nature and politics. So let's unpack that hidden political battle, using the novel itself as our guide. I mean, really think about that. What happens when all the rules just vanish? No parents, no teachers, no laws. What kind of society would you actually build? And more importantly, how long would it even last?
Because that's exactly what the island becomes. It's not some fun adventure, it's a laboratory. A grim, unintentional political experiment where big ideas clash and the stakes are, quite literally, life and death.
You have to remember, Golding wrote this right after World War II, and that context is absolutely everything. The island is this pressure cooker, this isolated lab, showing us how a society can be built from nothing and how terrifyingly fast it can all fall apart. And this right here, this is the heart of the whole allegory. The entire story is really built around this massive conflict that defined the 20th century, and it all plays out through two of the main characters. So let's meet our two contenders. In one corner, you've got Ralph, and in the other, you've got Jack. Now, these aren't just two kids having an argument. They represent two completely different political worlds that are about to go to war. Just look at how they get their power. Ralph's is pretty straightforward. He's elected. The boys vote for him. His authority comes from their consent. That's democracy. But Jack, well, he takes a much darker path. He represents totalitarianism, where the state wants total control. He doesn't win an election. No, he seizes power by creating a crisis, this fear of the beast, and then he sells himself as the only one strong enough to protect them. And their goals? They're polar opposites. Ralph is playing the long game. He's all about the common good, doing the boring but crucial work like building shelters and keeping that signal fire going for rescue. But Jack, he offers something way more exciting, right? The immediate thrill of the hunt, the feast, that raw feeling of power. It's all about short-term gratification, and it's all about him. So here's the fundamental difference. Ralph's system is built on rules and reason. It's slow, it requires debate, and it only works if everyone cooperates. Jack's system is the opposite. It's fast, it's emotional, it's militaristic. There's no debate, there are only orders. And it appeals directly to fear and that deep desire for a strong leader who just gets things done. Okay, so it's not just about the boys. Even the objects on the island are a huge part of this. They aren't just props, they're powerful symbols of the actual tools and institutions that hold a government together. And the conch is the most important one of all. It's basically their constitution. If you're holding it, you have the right to speak. It doesn't matter who you are. It stands for civil order, for free speech, for the rule of law. As long as the boys respect the conch, their little democracy is still alive. Then you have Piggy's glasses. Now, these aren't just for seeing. They represent something huge: science, intellect, technology. They are the island's most critical resource because they hold the power to create fire. And in this story, whoever controls the technology, they control everything. And this is where you really see the difference between the two systems, right? Ralph, the Democrat, he uses the glasses for the public good, to light the signal fire, a symbol of hope and rescue for everyone. But Jack, he does what authoritarians do. He steals the technology, he weaponizes it for his own tribe's immediate desires, to start a fire for a feast, a symbol of pure, savage celebration. So the big question is, how does Jack actually pull this off? How does he manage to tear down a functioning society? Well, turns out, he follows a classic political playbook, one that real-world authoritarians have used over and over again. It's basically a four-step process. First, you manufacture a crisis. He takes the boys' fear of the beast and dials it up to 11, getting them to trade their freedom for his protection. Second, you dehumanize. The face paint, the chanting, it's all designed to erase their individual identities and forge them into one single-minded tribe. Third, you create a scapegoat. You need a common enemy to unify your followers. And finally, you enforce it all with terror, using your brutal enforcer, in this case, Roger, to crush anyone who steps out of line. And all of this builds to the novel's absolutely horrifying climax. It's the moment when the rational, intellectual center of their society isn't just ignored, it's deliberately and violently destroyed. You gotta feel for Piggy. He's the brains of the whole operation, the scientist, the rational advisor. He's the guy who's right about pretty much everything. But here's his weakness: Pure intellect, without any power or force to back it up, is completely defenseless against brute strength. And this is his last stand. He holds up the conch, the last fragile symbol of their broken democracy, and he makes one final, desperate plea to reason. It's the ultimate question of the novel. Which one is it going to be? Civilization or savagery? The answer he gets is just devastating. Roger, Jack's executioner, sends a massive boulder crashing down. It shatters the conch into a million white pieces and kills Piggy instantly. This is not just a murder, it's a coup d'etat. It is the violent, complete overthrow of the democratic state. So with that one single brutal act, you see the death of both. The conch shattering is the death of law and order. Piggy's death is the death of reason itself. It's this terrifying symbol of the anti-intellectualism you see in so many totalitarian regimes, the deliberate purge of the thinkers, the questioners, the ones who dare to speak truth to power. And this really brings us to Golding's final bleak message. Democracy is not our natural state of being. It's fragile. It takes hard work and compromise and constant effort to keep it going. Totalitarianism, on the other hand, it's seductive. It's easy. It appeals to our darkest instincts for power, for tribe, for certainty. So the novel leaves us with this really haunting thought. Golding's warning is that when that thin layer of civilization is stripped away, our default setting isn't freedom, it's tyranny. And the question he leaves for all of us so many years later is a pretty simple one. Was he right?